guess I don't have to introduce the next guest. I'm sure everybody of you has freaked out to his music in the club or screamed before when he's playing, or raised your hands up in the air when he was doing his live set. Very happy to have him here. We actually planned this quite a long time ago.
Yes.
And he was so busy touring the world that I'm very, very happy to welcome Henrik Schwarz. So give him a warm welcome.
Thank you.
So I guess you are an inspiration for a lot of people in the room, including myself. And so for me, it's just really interesting to hear, how did you get inspired to make music?
I never learned an instrument. I don't know why. So I experimented with tapes, of course, when I was young. But there was a big breakthrough when a friend of mine had his first computer. I think that was something around 91. So he had a computer, and I spent all the money I had on buying a sound card for this computer. And we were working for 9 months to get the first tone out of this sound card.
9 months. Okay.
Yeah, because like MIDI cables, stuff like that, it was very complicated. The software was called Cubase Compact 1.0 that I got from a disc, like from a friend. And yeah, I didn't know how to work with it, and nobody knew how to work with it. So we were just like trying all the options. And at some point there was this sound coming from this keyboard we had connected, and that was a very magic moment for me, because yeah, that's how everything started.
From Cubase, was that the time then when your first releases were produced as well? The first one I ever heard was Chicago back then. That was 2003 or so?
Yeah, that was 12 years after I bought the first MIDI cable.
12 years, so it took a little while.
Yes.
First you started off with releasing your music on your own label? No, it was Sass's label, right? DJ Mood Music?
The first one was Supervision EP on Mood Music, and Sasse was the first one who actually, I gave a CD to him after we played together. And so I played a couple of my tunes, and he said, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, that's me." And then he said, "Yeah, give me the CD." And it still took 3 more years to actually release the first track. And I think that was 2003 or something. And soon after that, we both founded Sunday Music together, and that's where I released my first own tunes.
So you get inspired by technology just by playing around with it as well?
Yes, but I'm not so much after new plugins anymore. So if you find something, stay with it. Why should you change it? Yeah, I got this new EQ, I got this new something, I got this new distortion. Keep the distortion sound that's sounding good in your ears, and that's more the way I work. So
maybe we can plug in the monitor and then get in.
Every time I play, I save, and next time I play, I open. And that's how this has developed since the last maybe 8-9 years. And so
you don't keep 10 or let's say 20 different versions of a live set, you just go on, continue with the next one?
Yeah, it's always the last one. Because when I do a new remix, I'm going to show that later, or a new track, I take the parts from this track, put it into the live set, and then I might play it on the night, and yeah, that's how things just always go on and on and on. And
so the live set inspire you for your homework as well, that you use different parts and then say, oh, this bass line is working really well, I'm just going to use this for the remix or
absolutely,
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's always the best moments when I can really play free, when I can do whatever I want, and the audience is following, and then there's a good vibe going on, and then you play things that you normally wouldn't do because it's just all happening in real time, and so in real time, without thinking, you might do something special with the help of the audience, and I'm always after this magic moment where a couple of things come together that you cannot construct it. It's something else. There's more to it, and that's what it's about, I think. That's what touches people in the end. Okay, so when I play, of course, there's no arrangement here, and because it's all arranged in real time. And as you can see, when I scroll down, it's a complete chaos. Well, I had to do something about it because when I was playing, I couldn't find what I was playing anymore. Not fast enough. And in a way, when you play, for me, it's all about speed. You have to, if something is happening and you feel something and you want to play, even if it's just a hi-hat figure, you have to get it within 4 bars, max.
And you know where everything is, so you can go there right away?
Yeah, there was a time when I didn't, but now I do, because then I started to sort all the tracks by name. I just press the A on the keyboard and it's going to all tracks that start with A, or I press the N or whatever, H. So it's jumping to all the tracks that start with with H or whatever letter. So that makes me really fast. And that's also how I organize it in my head, because I know which hi-hat I was using when I did this and this track.
So when you play live, it's really live. It's all happening in the moment.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm playing when I start. It's just like I start somewhere and then see what happens and see what the audience does. It's very important to react in real time what's going on, because that's what this machine can do. I'm working on a surface for the iPad, but that's a lot of work. Because I think what's out at the moment is also, it's in a way just the computer screen again on your iPad. It's nothing that makes sense in my opinion. It's just the same thing. Why should I have this screen on this screen when I can use 10 fingers? I think there's not a proper solution yet, so if somebody's out there that has an idea.
So you say you know on what's not working for you, but have you an idea of how you would like to navigate through your scenes, how your interface would look like?
The magic thing about the iPad, I think the iPad, or let's say multi-touch, is definitely a way to go. And there should be gestures, of course. Yeah, if I put 5 fingers, for example, it could jump to track 5. And then I release my fingers and I get all the controls for track 5, for example. Yeah, or I could draw like numbers on the screen and the thing is recognizing, because I have more, again here, it's more than 8 tracks, it's 14. And I can't do anything about it. I tried everything to break it down to 8. It doesn't work.
So you have 4 bars to make a change if you want to make a change. And like if you do the gesture thing, your 4 bars are over.
No.
Yeah.
Not when I do it.
Maybe 2.
Well, it's all about training. It's like somebody who's playing the piano. If you're training hard, you can play fast. And of course, there needs a lot. Many people have to think about what the perfect interface should be. Yeah, it's very complex. I just think that what is out there at the moment is not the right path to go. Yeah, I would do it in another way. Yeah.
You have other little instruments there, what you are using for your live set as well. Maybe you can explain a little bit what is that you have there?
Yeah, just to also show what's actually here. So that's what I do is when I play, it's not much about sound, like all these single tracks, they are not EQ'd or mastered or nothing. They are just like how they come from my studio. And what I do is I adjust them in real time in the club, depending on what the sound system is, and depending on what's going on, and depending on what I played before. So what I basically do is when I play and I start one of the clips, I just grab the EQ and do it very quickly, just like, where's the best sound? It takes half a second, and then it's there.
I mean, you don't have an EQ for every little path that you use, right? Every track that you use.
I have an EQ for every sound.
So you adjust that with every sound that
or for every track. But there's not really there's not tracks that have basses. There's no tracks that have vocals. It's all a chaos. I drop it in as the things come, and of course that's also a part of playing, because when there's all chaos, I really need to work. I don't know what's coming to me. Yeah, it's in a way I'm playing with myself when I play. It's the thing is surprising me, and that's what keeps it interesting. Even if I do this now for such a long time, it's always different.
So you always get an idea what to do then, and you have backups there as well.
Well, I think there's there's something that makes it easy for us dance music people. If you put a bass drum, people gonna dance.
Okay.
So whatever.
So you have
Yeah.
this secret bass line. You say, okay, when I play this is my backup. Everybody's gonna freak out when I play this.
Well, of course, I know there's a few tracks that normally work, just like a DJ does, and if nothing works.
But you're one of the few people who also, and I guess I'm not the only one saying that, brought the jazz back onto the dance floor. That you have elements that not many other producers would dare to place or put into a club track, and all of a sudden they work, and everybody's wondering, oh, it's interesting. Like the remix for the Detroit Experiment, for example, that had a lot of elements in there that were mostly coming from a jazz track, right? And all of a sudden, it was one of the biggest hits, and everybody was dancing to it. Very unique.
Well, I mean, I believe that that musicality is still a very, very important thing. Yeah, I mean, playing melodies or harmonies. I know that. I mean, a lot of music that you hear today is like it's just a beat and some sounds, whatever. They might work on a dance floor because there is a bass drum, but they don't mean anything. And for me, it's not a surprise that people dance to saxophones or harmonies or pianos. I mean, that's how music works for me.
Stuart was saying basically the same thing, that a melody is the key element for a tune. And is that the reason also why you built your Schwarzonator plugin that helps you a little bit with getting the harmonies right?
Yeah, that's why I started doing it, because I never, well, as I said before, I never learned an instrument, but at some point I had the feeling I should learn the piano. And because you get to a point where you learn a little bit about harmonies, and you know what kind of keys you know how you want it to sound, but it takes hours to find the right notes. So because you just don't have the knowledge, and that was getting on my nerves. And so I was always dreaming about this plugin that is just putting everything in tune and still create complex harmonies. And so when Max for Live came out, I thought now is the time. Because when I was working as a graphic designer, I learned a bit how to program, like with Flash and PHP and databases and stuff like that. So when Max came, I thought now I give it a try. And already the first couple of tryouts sounded really great. Sounded much more promising, much more musical than I had expected. I thought it would be quite a machine-style thing, but it's not.
It sounds really easy to me, actually, that you say, oh, I just built my own plugin. I guess in the end it's not really that easy to just, you sit down and say, okay, I want something to work this and that way. And how do you get to the point of actually getting the instrument or the software to do that?
I think it's more about having an idea. It's not so much about doing it, because I did it myself because I could do it. But if I weren't able to program, I would look for somebody, like for my friends, who can do it.
I think some people complained about the sound of Ableton, that you can always tell if a tune was made in Ableton by the sound of it, or in the beginning that the sound quality was not really that good compared to tunes made on Logic. Is that still the case?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we just recently did a blind test from all the softwares, and well, Ableton lost, but that's not the point, I would say, because I mean the difference is so small, and if you're talking about things like that, I think you have to learn to listen for 3 years to be able to judge the difference, and that's what I think. So in a way, there is 9 tracks that hold audio files. It might be small loops. So, yeah, all these clips are basically audio files, small loops, long loops, whatever is necessary to play a track. Then I have here, that's just a room. That's an echo, very basic. But you can do many things with it.
Okay, my question is, how do you find the difference between playing live yourself and versus with the Innervisions orchestra, like playing with, Dixon and Am? Like, what's the good and bad?
I think it's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
If you play with others, of course, it's about playing with others, because it's fantastic to have friends around you who also have ideas, who throw something to you and or throw something at you, and you have to react to it. And that creates a special energy. It's very different from when you have to do all your own decisions. But then in the end, it's only me who is doing the decisions. Right. Also great. Yeah.
Shall we go to the plugin?
Oh, yes. That's the plugin. It's just a helping hand if you're not very familiar with chords and stuff. What I wanted to do is just access harmonies in a very intuitive way. And so I thought, why should the software not just give me, just output maybe 3 or 5 notes when I press only one key? Of course, for a classic musician, that's shocking in a way, but for me, it kind of worked.
So that's shortcutting the piano lessons for 5 years?
That was actually never the plan. I have to say I ended up taking piano lessons since half a year now, because that's still a touch better. It can be an inspiration thing if you need some harmonies, because I still find harmonies much more touching than any effect sound or anything else. That's what it's based on, and finding cool harmonies is an art itself. And this is something I started working on it, and I liked what came out, and that's why I went on, and I think it's fun playing around with it, and so that's why I also released it. So you can, if you don't have it, you can download it for free from the Ableton website or from my website. You just need to buy Max for Live, which is a shame, but maybe you have it.
Did that come about because of the project you're doing with Boge Wesseltoft, who is a Scandinavian piano player?
Yes, in a way too, because of course he's one of the best piano players I've ever seen, and so he's doing all these wizardry and he's magic, and so it could be quite a little bit difficult to follow him, and so that's why I did this kind of helper for me, where I can, if I know what in which tune we're playing, then I can dive into it, and so that's how I thought in the beginning I would do, but I only maybe used it 2 times, and now I'm trying to find it out myself without the help of a plugin. But still, I think it makes sense. It's very simple. Whatever key you press on your piano, so I have this little MIDI keyboard here, I have a grand piano connected. You can select from a small list of tracks that I made, or of just it's chord collections. So they're not really in one key or something. They're just harmonies that work well for me. And if you have your own ones, you can create your own sets with this little tool here, where you just can tell the thing, if I press a C, then I want you to play, I don't know, C, E, and G. That's all. And you do that for every note. So that's a C, that's a D. That's also part of this scale of this tune. So that's why it's also playing a D. But now if I jump to the E, which is gray on the screen, then it's correcting my E into a C. It's just playing the notes that fit this kind of harmonic environment. So now it's just 2 chords. And if you now want to you want to add a solo or just find a bass line or something, there's another little patch that comes with a plugin. It's called the Little Brother. It's connecting to the first device, and it's taking, in a way, the harmonic environment from what's going on here. And if you now play on your keyboard, all the notes are always going to fit. You can't do wrong.
So you can't do anything wrong, really.
Well, it can still sound shit, of course, just like now. Of course, you have to have an idea. It's just a helper. It's not making the music for you or anything. But the basic idea is behind it is get some more harmonies in today's electronic music. Because I think there's a lack of harmony, and there's just too many bass drums with effects, and so maybe this helps a little bit to try out something else.
Okay.
When I first opened Max for Live, I don't know, maybe that's when I started using Ableton, just a year before that, so maybe 10 years ago. This looked absolutely horrible. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And but now it's 10 years later, and I know what's going on. I just worked with it, and things got easier. And all I want to say is encourage you to try it out and just work with it, because it has huge potential. You can create your instrument, and for me, this is definitely the future. To really create some new stuff.
And I mean, for me, it still looks very complicated, actually. So how did you start off? Just to maybe in a few sentences. You had the idea, I want a tool that helps me with my harmonies. And how do you go from having that idea to having this plugin in Max for Live?
Yeah, I mean, the basic idea is I think that's the hard part, to have the idea. And then I downloaded Max, and I took another look at it, and it didn't look so horrible than 10 years ago. So I thought, maybe I give it a try. And what I don't like so much is all these lines and things. So that's basically Max in a way. But what I like much more, it's a JavaScript processor where you can program things. So here it's getting really interesting. You can create so much more complex things with a few lines. Well, I think sometimes it's worth reading the manual, because that's what they tell you. And for example, when I don't have an idea, I might open the manual, for example. Yeah, and
then get inspired by the introduction.
No, by shift down, for example. Yeah, it might turn a melody into a great bass line, for example.
That's true. Maybe we should have a look at one of your remixes that you are currently working on.
So that's a remix I'm currently working on for Anne Brun from Norway. I'm actually not sure if I'm allowed to play it, but maybe a couple of seconds.
But you did a remix for her before, right?
Yes. It's quite a challenging one because it has a very complex string arrangement. With many, many notes in there, and as I'm not a trained musician, it's quite hard to dive into it. There's a contact, clarinet, 909, Vox with Melodyne. Well, there's not much in my channels here, because every time I go to my mastering place for mixing, it's Calix mastering, and a couple of years ago we started doing the mixes together, because the situation at my home studio is just not good enough to hear everything. And so I was always like dropping all these plugins into my channels, compressors, EQs, whatever. And then you go there, you have this fantastic sound system, and you take them all out, because most of them sound shit. It's really true. When you compare on a really good system like this EQ with that EQ, they very often they take something away. These digital signals, they are very, in a way, they are shy, I think. If you add something, somehow it gets worse, very often. In 90% of the cases, I would say, you don't need the plugin. You can do it with volume or something, or with arrangement.
So that's talking plugins, how to alter the sound in the end. You mean like digital compressors or?
Compressors, yeah, whatever it is.
Okay. So less is more in that case as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so for example, from the UADs, I was a big fan of the UADs and until I went to the mastering place. When we listened to some of the things with and without, and still it's somehow taking something away. And if you really listen on the same level, I mean, that's what they all do, try them out, just switch them on and off. If they're on, they're 2 dBs louder, and everybody will say, that sounds better. Even if they do anything, don't do anything. So if you reduce the 2 dBs, then suddenly you realize, oh, the sound is worse than before. So there's all these strings, and very often when I'm getting remixes, especially when they come from outside the club world, there's a lot of harmonic change in there that for a dance floor you normally don't want. Of course you want to have some change, but you can't use the same chord changes than a pop record has. So what I try to do very often is reduce the harmonics and just so nearly everything I do, all the vocals go into Melodyne, and I let them sing what I want them to sing, like the lines I want that fit what I do instead of.
What do the singers say to that? Oh, I didn't sing that.
There wasn't anyone so far who said he didn't like it. All right.
So you basically changed exactly the melody that they were singing.
Yeah, I basically play something and then I just change the vocal line to what I want, so that it all fits together for my ear. And I do this with every channel. I mean, I do it with the bass, with the chords, with everything, because then I feel safe. Because then I have it under control. It's not something that's happening and I don't know what's going on. But here I can see which notes are in there. For example, these strings here, they sound quite different now than they were sounding before. But still you hear it's like 15 strings playing. There's some digital artifacts, I don't care. It's sounding good. That's currently in the works.
Very nice.
Just wanted to go back to when you're talking about the compressors and the EQs. Would you say on each individual track you would still normally be using an EQ or a compressor?
Well, when I produce, I sometimes EQ and compress, and then I go to the mastering place and we throw them away. I don't do much compression, not much EQing. It's, I don't know, I can't say how much it actually is, but for me it's more about levels and things. So I'd rather do it with that.
Yep, okay, thanks.
So it's more important in your live set, you would say, with the EQing, that you adapt to the place that you or the environment that you're in?
Yeah, I mean, that's of course, because with EQ, you are very fast. That's what it's about when you play live. It's about being fast. That's for me the most important thing, because then you can keep the energy, and that's why I'm using the EQ. It's all preset so that I know I have just to grab this one thing. I can adjust the level and the frequency at the same time, and it takes half a second, then it's there. So that's why I use the EQ here.
Perfect. Henrik, thanks a lot for shedding some insights on your production techniques, your live sets, your plugin. I think a lot of inspiration for everyone at home to continue to do music. Thanks a lot. Give it up.
Thank you all for coming.